There are billions of photographs in the world. Most are forgotten forever. But one ordinary picture, taken inside a football locker room in Barcelona, waited almost 17 years before anyone realized. It had accidentally captured two different eras of football. One person in that photo was already becoming a superstar. The other couldn't even walk yet. Neither of them knew they would one day meet again, with the FIFA World Cup between them. This isn't a legend. It isn't a movie. Every second of this story actually happened. Here's the strange part. That picture wasn't famous. Nobody framed it. Nobody talked about it. It simply disappeared. As if it meant nothing at all. But history had already started writing something nobody could see. July 13th, 2007, near Barcelona, a baby boy is born. His full name is Lamine Yamal Nasraoui Ebana. His father, Mauner Nasraoui, came from Morocco. His mother, Sheila Ebana, came from Equatorial Guinea. At that moment, he wasn't football's future. He wasn't a prodigy. He wasn't even famous in his own neighborhood. He was simply someone's son. Nothing about that day suggested that football history had quietly changed forever, because history almost never announces itself. It usually arrives looking completely ordinary. By the end of 2007, FC Barcelona and UNICEF were preparing something simple, a charity calendar, nothing more. 12 Barcelona players, 12 local families, 12 photographs. The goal wasn't history. It was fundraising. Across Barcelona, families entered a local raffle. Hoping for nothing more than a memorable day, Lamine's family entered too, against the odds. Their name was chosen. They had no idea. They had just won football's most unbelievable coincidence. The family wasn't allowed to choose the player. Every family was paired randomly. Some would meet established stars, others young players still trying to earn their place. When the organizers announced their pairing, the family was introduced to a quiet 20-year-old footballer named Lionel Messi. At that time, he wasn't yet the global icon millions know today. He was simply one of Barcelona's brightest young talents, still building his own story. Inside a changing room, someone placed a small white baby bathtub on the floor. The photographers smiled. The family smiled. Even the young footballer looked slightly nervous. He had probably never held a baby. During a professional photo shoot before, one photograph after another, nobody celebrated. Nobody applauded. Because nobody believed they were witnessing anything special. The calendar was printed. Money was raised for charity. The event ended. Life moved on. Boxes were packed. Photographs disappeared into family albums. For nearly 17 years, almost nobody talked about that picture again, until one social media post changed everything. In July 2024, Lamine's father shared those forgotten photographs with the world. Within hours, they were everywhere. People couldn't believe that the baby in Messi's arms had become Lamine Yamal. The famous photograph was never the moment that created Lamine Yamal. It simply became the moment everyone remembered. The real turning point came years later, not inside Camp Nou, not in front of thousands of fans, not even on a football pitch. It happened inside an ordinary fast food restaurant. His parents had separated. He spent most of his time with his mother in Granollers, while remaining close to his father and grandmother. Like many parents trying to build a better future for their children, his mother worked long hours at a local fast food restaurant. To everyone else, it was just another shift. But one ordinary conversation was about to change football history. One day, while speaking with a customer, She mentioned how much her young son loved football. The customer listened and smiled. She knew someone who might be able to help. That message eventually reached Innocenti Dias, the youth coordinator of a small local football club called CF La Torretta. His response was immediate. Bring the boy. There was no expensive trial, no famous scout, no television cameras, no headlines, just an opportunity. The club found a way to make football affordable for the family. Sometimes, history doesn't begin with a contract. It begins with kindness. Looking back now, that conversation may have lasted only a few minutes, but its impact can still be felt across world football. Without that ordinary day, the rest of this story might never have happened, because before Barcelona, before Spain, before every record, there was simply CF La Torretta. The pitches at CF La Torretta were small. The crowds were even smaller. There were no television cameras, no famous coaches, no scouts following every touch, just children playing football. But before long, people around the club started noticing the same thing. The smallest player on the pitch was often seeing passes that older children couldn't. He wasn't simply running with the ball. He was already thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. News of the young boy slowly spread beyond the neighborhood. Soon, he was invited to train with 2 different academies. First, Espanyol, then FC Barcelona, for almost any child in Catalonia. That decision could shape an entire future. Barcelona invited him to La Masia, the academy that had already developed generations of world-class footballers. It wasn't just another football school. It was the place where talent became history. During one of his early sessions, Lamine arrived without his football boots. A coach found an old spare pair. They weren't his size. They were too big. But training went ahead anyway. The oversized boots didn't slow him down. If anything, they made what happened next even more remarkable. Within a short time, the academy coaches realized they weren't watching an ordinary child. They were watching someone who solved football problems instinctively. He didn't need to be told where the space was. He had already found it. Every training session brought another quiet reminder that Barcelona had discovered someone special. Long before the headlines, the people inside La Masia already understood. This boy was different. Years passed. The little boy from CF La Torretta became one of La Masia's brightest young talents inside Barcelona's academy. His progress was impossible to ignore. But talent inside an academy means nothing until it survives the biggest stage. Then, April 29, 2023 arrived. Camp Nou, Barcelona versus Real Betis. More than 80,000 supporters filled the stadium. Barcelona were already leading comfortably. Late in the match, the 4th official raised the substitution board. Most people were expecting another experienced player. Instead, they heard a name almost nobody recognized: Lamine Yamal. He was only 15 years and 290 days old, a teenager. Still too young to drive, still too young to vote. Yet, he was walking onto one of football's biggest stages. The moment looked ordinary, but history had just changed. Lamine became Barcelona's youngest first-team debutant in the modern era, beginning a senior career that would soon break record after record. The same child, who had once stepped onto a tiny neighborhood pitch, was now standing beneath the lights of Camp Nou. But this was only the beginning, because 4 months later, another national team was about to discover him. Barcelona had introduced him. Now, the entire country was about to meet him. September 8th, 2023. Spain traveled to Georgia for a UEFA European Championship qualifier. Lamine was only 16 years old. He began the evening on the bench, watching, waiting, learning. Then an injury changed everything. Spain's coaching staff called his name. For most teenagers, wearing the national team shirt is already a dream. For Lamine, the dream lasted only a few minutes before it became history. Late in the first half, Spain attacked once again. The ball reached the youngest player on the pitch. One touch, one finish. Goal. Just like that, Lamine Yamal became the youngest player ever to represent Spain, and the youngest goal scorer in the history of the Spanish national team. He was only 16 years and 57 days old. One night, 2 national records. Most footballers spend years waiting for a moment like that. Lamine needed less than one match, but football still had much bigger stages waiting for him, because less than 1 month later, another historic record was about to fall. By the autumn of 2023, football had stopped asking one question: who is Lamine Yamal? Now everyone was asking something very different. How good can he become? On October 4th, 2023, Barcelona traveled to Porto for a UEFA Champions League match. The pressure couldn't have been much bigger. A packed European night, an away crowd. One of football's toughest competitions. And in Barcelona's starting 11 was a 16-year-old. At just 16 years and 83 days old, Lamine Yamal became the youngest player ever to start a UEFA Champions League match. He didn't score. He didn't need to. Sometimes history isn't written by goals. Sometimes it's written by trust. Barcelona trusted a 16-year-old on one of the biggest stages in club football. That decision told the football world everything it needed to know. The records kept arriving. The confidence kept growing, but nothing could prepare Europe for what would happen the following summer. Germany. UEFA Euro 2024. For most 16-year-olds, just making the squad would have been enough. Lamine had different plans. Match after match, his confidence grew. Then, July 9th, Spain faced France. For a place in the European Championship final, France scored first. Spain needed something special. Lamine delivered it. A breathtaking left-footed strike curled into the far corner. At just 16 years and 362 days old, he became the youngest goal scorer in UEFA European Championship history. 5 days later, Berlin, the final. Just 1 day after turning 17, he stepped onto the biggest stage of his career. He didn't score. He didn't need to. His perfectly timed assist helped Spain lift the trophy. Then came the celebration. 3-0. 4. To most people, it looked like a simple hand gesture. It wasn't. 304. The postcode of Rocafonda, the neighborhood. That had built him long before football knew his name. Success changed everything. The world now knew his name. Only a few months later, Paris, football's biggest awards night. At just 17, Lamine Yamal received the Copa Trophy, recognizing him as the world's best young player. But even that wasn't the biggest moment of his story. The biggest stage was still ahead. But football moves fast. The expectations kept rising. Every season, every performance brought one question closer. Could he do it on football's biggest stage? Then, the FIFA World Cup, the tournament every player dreams of winning. And suddenly, the story came full circle. 18 years earlier, a charity photograph had captured a baby and a young Barcelona player. Now, they were no longer part of the same picture. They stood on opposite sides of the biggest match in football, a FIFA World Cup final. One, chasing the trophy that had defined his career. The other, trying to begin a new era. History had brought them back together. Tomorrow, one story ends, another begins. Be here on FIFA Files for the World Cup final.